The Bhagavatam, it says, Mukti Dware, the door to liberation is wide open for those through Mahat Seva, association with devotees and service to devotees. And Tamodvaram, Yoshita Sangi Sangam, the doorway to suffering in the lower planetary systems is wide open for those who are always attached to illicit connections with the opposite sex or the same sex nowadays. Either we are completely infatuated with material sensual affairs, then that will lead us towards a place where it's just that kind of gross consciousness, complete attachment to matter and these material things. So mukti, if we want mukti, then how do we get mukti? If we follow Mukunda, that means we take shelter of those who are servants of Mukunda, the Vaishnavas in this world. Mukunda also means he who, it has a Rasik meaning also. It refers to Krishna, who will, later on we hear this, how he is stealing the clothes of the Gopies, Chitta Hari, and stealing their hearts, Gopi Jana Vastra Hari. This is mukti. Removing all barriers, all connections, all barriers of separation and complete in this sense of meeting, especially with Srimati Radhika. So this is also Nishanta Lila, Naisha Lila, mukti. Freeing one from the suffering of separation. That's mukti for the devotees, to free devotees from the suffering of separation from Krishna. Rama Krishna Hayagriva. Hayagriva gave many great spiritual instructions and knowledge, so this is also significant that if we want to progress in spiritual life, we have to take shelter of spiritual knowledge. Our process is mainly hearing, chanting, remembering, dancing, taking prasad, but by hearing the spiritual knowledge, it can awaken transcendental faith, and by that faith, if we follow the process of bhakti, then we can very quickly advance in spiritual life to the goal. Nishrimha Bhamana Shri Madhusudhana Brajendra Nandana Shama Putana Gatana Kaitava Shatana Jayadasharati Rama. So we should memorize these verses for those who, I think everyone mostly already knows them, but gradually we'll go through different songs, and those we don't know we'll memorize. And so we can do it together, or we could also do it individually. But if you want to memorize a long sequence, then you can create what's called memory rooms from areas you already know very well. Like, for example, verse 1 would be in the temple room, verse 2 would be outside the temple room, verse 3 would be towards the pathway or in the garden, verse 4 would be house 2, verse 5 house 1, verse 6 the walk towards the creek, verse 7 the cabin, verse 8 the loop around the creek up into the hill. And each of those locations you can have a few items that trigger the memory. Like, for example, in here for the first verse, it's easy. You just remember giving up sleep, so getting out of bed, nidrachari, waking up, and then chanting, remember Hari Hari, the lion, Mukunda, Murari, killing the demon of ignorance, Ram, Krishna, Hayagriva. Then outside, so you can do these kinds of things. Once you memorize it, it becomes naturally ingrained in your permanent long-term memory. But this is also helpful for verses or for memorizing points from a class you want to speak on. I used to do this. Nowadays I don't do it as much because it's just been very busy. But if you're giving a presentation with many points you want to remember without having like a PowerPoint or something, you can use this kind of technique, and it's very effective.